Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka 555 Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of October 6th to October 12th, 2024, where I give you my thoughts on a couple of stories that caught my attention, and like I said, I'll give you my thoughts and my opinion on them. And we have 4 stories to cover, most of them Nintendo, except for one, including their so-called announcement of a very Nintendo-like alarm clock, or Alarmo is what they are calling it though. A lawsuit made by Switch modders seems, or a person who created the mods for like the Nintendo Switch, seems to be willing to take Nintendo on and everything like that. It will be interesting to see how that one plays out. Basically, a report that came out about basically Saudi Arabia, or a firm being run by the Saudi Arabian government, buying more shares into Nintendo, although that story has since been updated on that, and supposedly a different direction for the Halo franchise, as 343 Industries no more, as it's now being called Aulx Studio. So I want to give my thoughts on that. And if you're interested in where I got the source of these informations, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And of course, if you want to get to any parts of this video, timestamps will be in the description, or will be at the beginning of this video as well. But before we get started though, I like to do what I like to call is the quick My 2 Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and everything like that. The first one has to do with supposedly that Monolith Soft is expanding its in-house development and also its game engine for future titles, which certainly is nice. I do think Monolith has been very good with Nintendo. They've helped out with a couple of titles, from some of the Zelda games to, I believe they took part in Splatoon, and of course they're famous for the Xenoblade Chronicles series, which I'm all for another entry in the series, although I would be more open to seeing a port of, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I just think that deserves a remake or a remaster, or maybe a sequel to that, or a brand new IP from them. I would definitely be down with that as well. But it's nice to see that Monolith Soft is succeeding, it's doing very well, and expanding. So good for Monolith and everything like that. We also learned that apparently a sequel to Alien Isolation is officially in development from Creative Assembly and published, and believe Sega as well, which is kind of interesting because that game came out around the time there was backlash around Aliens Colonial Marines and how that game was handled and everything. And so that was kind of interesting to see this one, considering that supposedly the game didn't do well sales-wise and everything like that, despite getting a better response and all. So it is certainly interesting to see that they are working on this game and everything like that. No word in terms of what system it will be on. Most likely, I would say PS5, Xbox Series X and S, although I wouldn't rule out the possibility it could make its way to Xbox's next system, or basically, the PS6, whenever that comes out. As far as Nintendo goes, we know that the first one made its way over to the Switch. No word at this time, basically, if it will make its way to the Switch, although I wouldn't rule out the possibility it could come to the Switch too. There's always that possibility as well. We also learned that Aulx Studios, I think it was Valhalla Games, the ones that did, some hated, some liked it, Devil's Third on the Wii U, supposedly has not shut down or anything like that. It has just basically changed its name and everything like that. We haven't really heard from him or anything like that since, Devil's Third came out, and it remains to be seen what he may be working on. So time will ultimately tell. Maybe at some point we'll see what games he is working on. Although I have heard that he has expressed interest with working with Microsoft and everything like that, since supposedly he has a good relationship with them, especially with games like, the Ninja Gaiden reboot that he worked on when he was with Techno, to even the Dead or Alive franchise. So time will ultimately tell, but for now his studio hasn't been shut down or anything like that. We also learned that Red Dead Redemption, the first one, will be finally making its way over to the PC, along with Undead Nightmare DLC and everything like that. It certainly is nice to see the game finally come to the PC and all. I know there are PC gamers that were asking for this game to come there and everything like that. I have it for the Switch. I enjoy it and everything, but it's still nice to see it come to the PC nevertheless. I don't know what the specs are for the PC version, but hopefully it's not I guess, too demanding or anything like that, but we'll see. I mean, supposedly will be out this year and all. I believe so. I'm not 100% sure about that. We also learned that Asperity will be working on a remaster of the PS1 game Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battle. It'll be coming to PC and consoles, including the Switch, in January. No word about a physical version at this time, as far as I'm aware of, although my guess is that this probably will be one of those, limited run type of games, since we've seen that happen before. So time will ultimately tell about if or when a physical version is announced. I remember hearing about this game. It came out around the same time that Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace movie, and there was a game based off the movie, which I understand the game got bad reviews, and this one got sort of a better response and everything like that. So we'll see how this one plays out and everything like that. Asperity, I would say, has been some hit and miss depending on, in terms of the Star Wars license, depending on which game you thought was good for them and which wasn't. We also learned that Nintendo Switch Online is going to be doing a playtest program related to new features. There was a sign up for that, but unfortunately that sign up is now gone and everything like that. It went by very quickly. Supposedly there are reports that those who do this, take part in this, have to sign an NDA and not talk about this at all. No word exactly what this may be at this time. There are some theories floating around across the internet. Some speculate it could be maybe bringing GameCube and Wii titles to Nintendo Switches online, possibly through streaming. Other possibilities could be maybe they're working on a Battle Royale-like type of game. I mean, we've seen Nintendo take on Battle Royale, but in their own take, like Super Mario Bros. 99 to Tetris 99 and all, and most recently F-Zero 99. Maybe it's a brand new one. Others are speculating it could be maybe related to Switch 2 and all, maybe testing out some stuff. So there's a lot of speculation on what this is, but so far nothing's official. So I would say whatever it is, I would keep expectations in check, but it is kind of curious to see what exactly this Switch Online playtest thing turns out to be. We also learned that supposedly the developers of the Yakuza Kiwi game for the Nintendo Switch is basically confirmed that there is a physical Switch release happening though, and for those who may not be familiar, I believe it's up on limited run games at this time. So for those who are hoping to get their hands on a physical copy and not down with the idea of downloading it digitally though, it does seem that a physical copy is going to happen. So that's certainly nice for physical owners though. It is from limited run games. I know some people have a love-hate with them to a certain degree, but if you want a physical version right now, it does seem limited runs might be your only option. And finally, last but not least, a trailer came out for the upcoming Tomb Raider 4 to 6 trailers. These are the other Tomb Raider games in the work, 1 and 3, I believe they're being done by Asperity. These are going to be remasters to a certain degree. But interesting enough, I believe Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness is one of those games that's being remastered, which is kind of interesting indeed, considering that game didn't get, I would say, the best response at all. So I'm very curious to see how that one is going to be when that gets remastered. And who knows, maybe, just maybe though this is a long shot, maybe this opens the door to the possibility of maybe something like Tomb Raider Legends getting a remaster treatment. I mean, time will ultimately tell if that does happen, but it looks like this one would be out, I think January, I'm not 100% sure. It's coming to multiple systems. They do say it's coming soon to the Nintendo Switch. Again, if a physical version is going to happen, I won't rule that out. Obviously, as I mentioned before, I wouldn't be surprised if we see it come from limited run games and all. And in the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we learned that Universal and Sega are making a movie based off of the Shinobi franchise and everything like that. No word at this time on a release date or anything like that. This was just recently announced. To me, this can go either way. It could end up being something good or bad. I mean, we've seen movie and TV shows based off of video game adaptations of them has been sort of a hit and miss. The quality certainly has gotten better, but there has been some misfires before. Some have gotten mixed response to stuff like Netflix's Dragon Dogma to Halo Season 1 and 2 on Paramount Plus. Others have not done very well, like I think the Resident Evil on Netflix, to recently Borderlands movie, which bombed at the box office. But there have been some successes. Castlevania, Cyberpunk Edge Runner, basically Sonic 1 and 2 did well at the box office. And of course we had a spin-off or a side story with Knuckles, and we have Sonic Hedgehog 3 coming out. And of course, last year the Super Mario Brothers movie made a killing at the box office. So, I mean, this can go either way. We'll have to wait and see how when we start hearing some more about this and all. So, for now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So we'll just wait until we start seeing some more information and hopefully maybe a trailer whenever that happens. Indeed. We also learned that it does seem to be that Sony and Ghost Corp is still moving ahead with the next installment in the Ghostbusters movie franchise. I enjoyed Frozen Empire. I thought it was good, but obviously it didn't appeal to everyone out there. And supposedly the movie, I would say box office wise, depending on how you want to look at it though, it may not have done as well as they had hoped for. We'll see what they do with the next entry though. I do kind of agree that it's time to sort of move away from the original cast to a certain extent. As much as I would like to see the original cast one last time, I think it's time now for the Spangler family to be fully there without the original cast and all. I think it now has to be the passing the torch for good and everything like that. And I am very curious to see what this Ghostbuster animated series on Netflix plays out though. I do think it definitely has potential, but I am down with another entry in the Ghostbuster franchise. Again, I understand Frozen Empire got mixed response, but I still enjoyed it nevertheless. We also learned that supposedly James Gunn has debunked supposedly rumors on who they were looking for to appear in Batman in the DCU or James Gunn's cinematic universe of the DC franchise and all. So remains to be seen who they're going to cast. I've heard some people pushing for the idea of having, the Batman, from Matt Reeves be part of the DCU. And honestly, I wouldn't be completely against that idea, but it doesn't seem to be indication that is going to happen. But time will ultimately tell on that. And finally, Ewan McGregor, if I'm saying his name correctly, has mentioned about a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So far, it doesn't seem like it's off the table, but nothing has been officially announced. I really think they should do a second season. I think there are ways they could approach the second season and everything like that. It remains to be seen if it will happen. Not to mention, James Earl Jones recently passed away, who voiced Darth Vader and all. So who knows if a second season will ever happen, but personally, I think it should and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of the Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Halo, and it looks like what seems to be a big overhaul for the franchise and the studio that's handling the game and all. Now, Halo, I would say the series itself has kind of been in sort of an awkward position though. Although the series is loved by basically a lot of Xbox fans and those who enjoy it though, I do think that there have been some mixed response to how 343 Industries handled the Halo franchise. The Master Chief Collection was not handled as well as a lot of people would have liked it to be when it originally launched, although it's certainly better. And I think Halo 4 and 5 got some very mixed response. Same with Halo Infinite. When it was first revealed, the trailer didn't exactly sit very well with a lot of folks. It unfortunately forced them to delay the game and miss the launch of the Xbox Series X and S. So the series has certainly gotten mixed response, or at least how the way a lot of things have been handled, ranging from that and also the multiplayer, clearly with the Halo multiplayer, and rumors about the possibility of a story DLC that never saw the light of day for Halo Infinite and everything like that. Well, now it seems as though that they are basically going in Microsoft and the studio behind holding the Halo franchise seem to be going in a different direction, as not only as 343 Industry no longer exists and it's now being referred to as Aulx Studio now, but it looks like they are moving away from their in-house engine, I believe what's called the Space Sphere engine, into Unreal Engine 5 and everything. In an article from GameIndustry.biz, it reads that, quote, Microsoft has announced several major changes to 343 Industries, the studio behind the Halo games, including a new name, new engine, and the beginning of work on multiple new titles in its flagship shooter series. 343 Industries will now be known as Aulx Studios with an Xbox Wired post, adding that as well as rebranding, the developer is seeking changes in culture, workflow, and how its teams are organized. Centered to this is the decision to move away from the studio's proprietary Slipspace engine and the shift to Unreal Engine 5, something that was first reported in 2023. All future Halo projects will now be built with Epic Games tech, and multiple new games are now in development, with the announcement described as a new dawn for Halo. Speaking to Xbox Wire, leaders from the studio discussed many reasons behind the switch, including the advantage of hiring staff already experienced in a widely used engine rather than having to train them up on a proprietary tech. 343 Industries previously had to dedicate a large portion of its staff to ongoing development and upkeep of Slipspace, but the team's now working with Epic Games to ensure Unreal Engine meets Halo's needs. The way we made Halo games before doesn't necessarily work as well as for the way we wanted to make games for the future, says Aulx Studios COO. So part of the conversation we had was about how we help the team focus on making the game versus making the tools and the engine. The company emphasizes that this is the beginning of the new chapter and that there are no immediate plans to announce or release a new Halo game. Instead, updates and additions will continue for Halo Infinite while the next title are in the works. To me, this can go either way. This could either be something good or something bad, though. And a lot of that will depend on the decisions Aulx Studio and Microsoft basically made. It could end up being a good thing in terms of the fact that it could mean switching to this engine now will make things a bit easier. And the idea that they are working on multiple titles for Halo may not be a bad thing. Maybe it could be revised of maybe the Halo War series, I think the strategy type. Maybe it means it makes it easier to make a good single player Halo game, to maybe improving the multiplayer for those who like the multiplayer part of Halo though. So this could be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing at the same time, because Aulx Studio, formerly known as 343 Industries, has had a history when it comes to handling the Halo franchise not doing well or meeting fans' expectations, though. You may argue some fans maybe raise their expectation too high, and that's also true, but there also have been some criticism of how things at 343 Industry was handled, especially by management, to, a lot of stuff like content for the multiplayer and all. So this, to me, this can go either way. I'm hoping it does turn into something positive, and I'm hoping this can lead to a better future for Halo and everything like that. It's something that would appeal to longtime fans, not only that, but maybe bring in some new fans as well. So time will ultimately tell, and a lot of it will come down to what Aulx Studio and Microsoft does. But if they play their cards correctly and they deliver their next Halo game, deliver a good Halo game, whether it's for the Xbox Series X and S, or whether it's for their next generation Xbox, with rumors of it being one of them being a handheld and all, then this may end up working very well for them and all. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll hear about it soon. But overall, I would say this is an interesting approach that they are taking for the Halo franchise. Whether or not this is good or bad, again, that remains to be seen. My hope is that this does turn out to be something good and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Nintendo and basically Saudi Arabia, which is at one point considered a larger stake in Nintendo, although there has been an update since then on that story. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video. For this one, we're going to be talking about Nintendo and Saudi Arabia, particularly a firm owned by the Saudi government, which is currently owns some stakes in Nintendo and all. Now, one of the things we have seen is we've seen companies that are from, like countries like China to Saudi Arabia and others that have invested money, especially in the gaming space and all. We've seen Tencent with, Epic to Platinum. And of course, this firm owned by the Saudi Arabian government, which has invested money into several companies, including owning a large share of SNK, to recently owning Nintendo, at least owning some stake or some stock in Nintendo, which led to one report of Nintendo not learning about this in the news and everything like that. Well, recently, over the week, there was a report that came out that indicated that this firm was increasing their shares on Nintendo with an update, which I will get to that as well. In an article from Nintendo Life, in terms of the original story, though, which came out on October 6th on a Sunday, it reads that, quote, "The Saudi Arabia Public Investment Funding is considering increasing its stake in Nintendo and other games firm, it has been revealed." Speaking in an interview with Japanese news agency Kodo News, one of the princes there, I have a hard time saying this person's name, vice chair of the PIF gaming unit, revealed the desire to expand but said there was no urgency to make further investment and that any increased stake will be made in a friendly manner. PIF currently owns 8.58% of Nintendo's currently, and it's the largest outside investor in the company. It has minor stakes in video game companies like Nexon, 10.53%, Koei Tecmo, 8.99%, and Capcom, 6.60%. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince, Misk Foundation owns 96% of the King of Fighter and Fatal Fury creator SNK. Increased investment in gaming entities is part of Saudi Arabia's drive to reduce its reliance on oil exports, the nation's main source of wealth. It initially took a 5% stake in Nintendo in 2022, increased the stake to 6% in the following year. Now, following that report that came out, there was an update on October 8th on Tuesday, and this is what the update from the article from Nintendo Life says. Quote, "Following articles over the weekend that Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund may seek to increase its investment in Nintendo over and above the 8.58% stake it owns, CNBC has now reported that the PIF has, in fact, cut its stake in the Japanese firm. The Saudi Sovereignty Wealth Fund stakeholder has reportedly decreased over by 1% point, according to a Japanese firm. It now stands at 7.54%. It's coming from GameIndustry.biz. An interview given by Kodo News was the basis for a report dealing potential interest in increasing ownership of Nintendo and other video game firm. Despite the reduction, the PIF remains one of Nintendo's largest shareholders at all. So obviously it wasn't an increase, it was a decrease though, but it does seem to indicate they are still one of the shareholders and everything like that. And a comment made by one of the folks who jumped to any conclusion, they pointed out a couple of things though, and this at least is in the comment section of this article. It reads, quote, "Nintendo's president has stated they have plans to tackle any hostile takeover. Nintendo is a public company and anyone can buy shares, so they can't prevent people from doing so. They can, however, object should any shareholder from outside Japan owning more than 10% of the company by taking it to the government or the courts to put a stop to it. In SNK's case, it would be hazard a guess that they either accepted the bio or no longer exists and render all parties as redundant." So this person's saying he's not a business person, but that's his understanding, assuming what he's saying is correct. Even though they've reduced it, they're still the largest shareholders and all. I'm still mixed to this to a certain extent. Now, there are some arguments that can be made. Yes, it is true Nintendo is a publicly owned company. anybody can buy stock in it. That is true, to be exact. There's nothing preventing you from buying stock into it. And yes, it is true that maybe Saudi Arabia is looking to move away from relying heavily on oil as their main economy drive and everything like that, though. And this is probably one of the areas that they are doing, though. So it's true that is all true. But at the same time, I'm still mixed to this to a certain degree. And this has to do with some of these firms run by these governments that are known for its human rights abuse. And it does raise some concerns about this to a certain degree. And some of this kind of feels sort of similar, kind of can't shake the whole situation, what happened in 2019 with the whole Blitzchung situation, where Activision Blizzard pulled this person's Hearthstone winnings over his comments of it, basically saying free Hong Kong, which at the time we had those like pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, and led to an enormous backlash to it, to the point that Activision Blizzard gave this person his winnings and apologized, but it opened up a Pandora's box of doing business with some of these countries which are known for their not so great human rights and so forth. So it kind of brings that whole issue up indeed. Again, I get it. It's a free market. The companies like Platinum and Nintendo can make that decision itself, but I'm still mixed on the idea of basically some of these countries like Saudi Arabia or China, for that matter, buying some of these stakes in some of these companies and everything like that. Because, like I mentioned, the whole Blitzchung thing situation kind of brings that whole situation up and all. So overall, obviously, the Saudi Arabia firm has basically reduced some of its stake into Nintendo and everything. Again, Nintendo is a publicly owned company. They can do what they want on this, though, but I am still mixed about some of these countries, some of these firms that are run by countries that are known for their human rights abuse and everything like that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with a lawsuit apparently filed by this Switch mod chipper, and is basically moving forward to take on Nintendo without a lawyer and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a lawsuit being filed by Nintendo, but the person supposedly is going to fight back and all. Now, one of the things that Nintendo is notorious for is with their lawyers, aka sometimes referred to as the Nintendo Ninjas and all, basically are extremely protected of their IPs. And sometimes I think Nintendo's in the right in some of these situations. Sometimes I think they can be wrong. But I do understand to some degree why they want to protect their IPs and all. And unfortunately, Nintendo has a history of going after, ranging from emulators, which, as I mentioned before, I'm very mixed on emulators. There are some both sides of the coin on this, to modders and everything like that. And I believe this time they went after a modder who I think sold that like this mod chip or something where you could and everything like that for the Switch. And apparently it seems this modder is willing to basically stand up against Nintendo and all. In an article from Video Game Chronicles, it reads that supposedly, though, the person who ran this, again, this Michigan-based Ryan Dillon, who operated a store called Mod and Hardware, though, and supposedly the lawsuit claimed that Nintendo contacted this person in March and threatened to sue him unless he stopped selling Mod Switch console and MIG Switch, which enabled pirate Switch games to be played on an unmod hardware, though. Now, supposedly, since then, this person who has yet to hire an attorney, has filed a response to Nintendo's complaint denying any wrongdoing. As reported by Torrent Freak, if I'm saying the name correctly, this person named DALY kept his answers short to each of Nintendo's claims, either saying denied or claiming that he doesn't have enough information to admit or deny them, and therefore denies them. He also lists 17 affirmative defense defense in which the defendant introduced evidence that could exclude them from liability, including fair use, invalid copyright, and unjust enrichment and fraudulent inducement, if I'm saying the name correctly though. The case will now be moved onto the discovery process, where both parties can start gaining evidence, though it appears it will continue with this person representing himself instead of hiring an attorney. Nintendo's lawsuit claims that this person not only sold mods to customers, but also offered a mail-in service which enabled players to send their Switch console and have them return mod, often with pirate games installed and all. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out and everything like that. Obviously, this person wants to go ahead without a lawyer and all, and we'll see how he plays out with this, but something tells me, and given Nintendo's history and all, something tells me the odds are definitely not going to be in his favor. Now, I'm not a legal expert or anything like that, and who knows how this is all going to play out. It might turn into something, it might turn into his favor, or it might be going against him and all. But if I had to take a guess, given Nintendo's history, though, I would say the odds are really stacked against this modder, and I think there is a very high chance he is going to lose and all. Now, he could pull a rabbit out of his hat. He could surprise us with some sort of claim, but I just not 100% sure. And going in without a lawyer, I also think that may not be a smart move on this person's part. But we'll see what happens when this lawsuit goes through, and we'll see how well either this person comes out victorious against Nintendo, or he becomes another victim of what Nintendo has known with their lawyers and really go after these emulators, modders, and so forth. So overall, this person's very brave to go against Nintendo without a lawyer or anything like that, though. I just think, and again, like I said, I'm not a legal expert or anything like that, but I just think the odds are definitely stacked against them and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one we're going to be talking about Nintendo's odd announcement that they made. It's something called Alarmo, which is a alarm clock from Nintendo. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My Two Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo announcing new hardware, not the Switch 2, but something called their alarm clock, or Alarmo as it's being called. Now, Nintendo is no stranger to announcing some peripherals or some stuff in their lineup, sometimes with the Switch and sometimes without it though. I mean, we've seen some peripherals in the past, like Amiibos have done very well for Nintendo, although you don't hear as much about Amiibos as you used to back then, to some that have kind of been forgotten, like Labo and all, which seemed like a neat idea, but never, I would say, eventually that kind of faded and everything like that. So when it was announced that Nintendo was doing an alarm clock, I was like, wow, that's interesting to say the least, and it certainly it seems that they have done that. And what's even more amazing is that it has sold out already, although there are claims this won't be limited quality, it won't be like a limited supply or anything like that. But it is absolutely insane to see how this was announced, and like there are people who want to get their hands on it and everything. But anyway, in an article from Nintendo Life, this is what it has to say. Quote, they have dubbed this, they have now, has it said, revealed the official alarm clock dubbed Nintendo Style Clock Alarmo. Available now via Nintendo's official website for $100, with a retail coming in early 2025. Alarmo will utilize motion detection technology to allow users to snooze their alarm with the wave of their arm, or stop the alarm altogether by simply getting out of bed. It'll be interesting to see how that works out, although I do think there's a button you could just hit it or something like that. As for what kind of sounds you can expect to hear, Alarmo will let you choose from 35 scenes inspired by 5 key game Switch titles: Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, and Ring Fit Adventure. You can also link your Nintendo account to download additional scenes from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Animal Crossing New Horizon. I wouldn't be surprised if they also add, you could also update and add other sounds from other Nintendo games, maybe classic Nintendo games, or even something from Tears of the Kingdom and all. But anyway, it says currently this is only available for order in North America and Canada, but Europe fans can get on the action later this week. And you will need to ensure you're subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online to qualify for a purchase. If you happen to be in New York, however, the official New York store will also be stocking it. Again, I've been hearing that one also sold out as well. It certainly feels like a bit of an April Fool's joke considering the current adaptation for Switch 2, right? Regardless, it still looks pretty cool and wouldn't mind getting our hands one on ourselves. It certainly will be making getting up in the morning a tad easier and all. They show pictures of it and everything like that. I would say some could argue this is definitely a Nintendo thing, and I can't argue against that in any way. It certainly is, and it certainly is a odd choice for Nintendo to do this and everything like that. But so far it seems to be selling very well and people are purchasing it, although I would not be surprised if we see some of it being purchased by scalpers and they sell this for outrageous prices though. I mean, if this thing's costing $99, like $100, I wouldn't be surprised if someone has it up there selling it for more than $100 or something like that. So I would not be shocked if scalpers got their hands on it though. I think there was like a problem in Japan with this, and they are sort of taking a different approach with like a lottery or something like that. So it's a bizarre thing. I know it's not the Switch 2 announcement that I think some folks were hoping for, and I don't blame you, but still, this is definitely a very Nintendo thing. It's not on my radar in terms of getting this or anything like that, but for now, I guess basically if you're a diehard Nintendo fan or something like this and like this idea, then hopefully this is something that clicks with you, maybe as a holiday gift or something like that, though. So we'll see if more comes in stock, and we'll see how well this does sell in the long run. So overall, definitely a bizarre choice for Nintendo. Curious to see how far, how many people are willing to buy this and everything like that. Obviously, like I said, it's not the Switch 2 announcement, but certainly it is a, let's just say, a very interesting announcement to say the least. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of October 6th to the 12th, 2024. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this new direction for Halo, ranging from changing the studio's name to Aulx Studios to going with the Unreal Engine 5 engine instead? Do you think this is the right move for Halo going forward? Do you think this is the wrong move by any chance, to be exact? Are you pleased with this announcement? Are you not pleased at all? What are your thoughts about this Saudi Arabia firm now lowering their stake in, or only lowering their shares of Nintendo and all? Are you comfortable with the idea of this firm from Saudi Arabia owning some shares with Nintendo? Are you not comfortable at all? What do you think about this lawsuit or this Switch modder going against Nintendo even without a lawyer? Do you think this is a smart decision for him to do this? Do you think this is an extremely dumb decision at all? Do you think he has a chance to beat Nintendo in court, or do you think the odds still favor Nintendo by a good amount? And what are your thoughts about Nintendo announcing this new hardware, Alarmo? Do you think this is the most bizarre thing Nintendo has done, or do you think this is something that's really neat? Are you planning to buy Alarmo if you have the chance, or if you were lucky enough to get one, or is this a pass for you in any way? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!